The huge coalition battle carrier Voigtfang floated quietly in deep space. Inside its metal hulls, the air smelled of hot metal, sweat, and recycled oxygen. In the lower mess hall, a group of alien warriors sat around a long table. They had just come back from a hard fight against pirate ships. Their armor was still dirty, and some had fresh cuts or burns that were already healing under coalition medicine. The biggest among them was Sergeant Korvax, a Krell. Krell were tall, with thick black chitin plates covering their bodies like natural armor. Their 4 arms ended in sharp claws, and their voices sounded like grinding stones. Kor leaned back in his seat, his mandibles clicking in amusement. Next to him sat 2 Vorath cadets, thin, insect-like creatures with shiny green shells and large compound eyes. Across the table were 3 Taisari, tall and slim, with pale blue skin and glowing patterns that moved slowly under their flesh when they felt strong emotions. In the middle of the table, a small hologram projector showed bright pictures. One of the Vorath cadets had pulled up old human stories from the Coalition database. Everyone was watching and laughing. "Look at this one," Kor said, pointing with a claw. The hologram zoomed in on a bronze statue of a man with long hair and a spear. "They call him Achilles. Story says he was almost impossible to kill, except for one tiny spot on his heel. Then an arrow hit it, and he died. Pathetic. If a Krell had one weak spot, we would cover it with armor, not make songs about it." The table exploded with laughter. The Taisari's skin patterns flashed bright purple with amusement. Another picture appeared. A small group of men in red cloaks, holding long spears, against thousands of enemies in a narrow pass. 300 Spartans, the Vorath cadet read from the text. They stood against 1,000,000 soldiers, and fought until every single one was dead. Kor slapped the table so hard, the metal rang. 1,000,000? Ha! Even if it was only 10,000, no 300 could hold a line that long. Humans make up numbers to feel big. Their stories are full of lies like this. A Taisari named Lyra leaned forward. Her voice was soft and smooth, almost musical, but her words were sharp. "It is not just the numbers. It is the idea. They write about warriors who keep fighting when everything is lost. Broken legs, missing arms, burning wounds. They still stand and swing their weapons. No real creature does that. Pain stops you. Fear stops you. Biology stops you. But in their myths, humans pretend biology doesn't matter." The laughter grew louder. Someone brought up a new image. Vikings in fur and iron, screaming without shirts in the snow. Axes raised high. "Berserkers," the cadet said. "They say these men felt no pain, fought like wild animals, and sometimes kept fighting even after they were dead." Kor wiped a tear of laughter from one eye slit. Dead men fighting. That is the funniest part. Humans love the idea of dead heroes more than living ones. Maybe because most of their real heroes die fast and useless. In the far corner of the mess hall, away from the bright hologram light, one figure sat alone. Captain Vren Thalor did not laugh. He was also Krell, but older and much bigger than Kor. His chitin was covered in pale scars that looked like cracks in old stone. One entire side of his face was rebuilt with smooth metal plates. His left lower arm was gone below the elbow, replaced by a black prosthetic that clicked quietly when he moved it. Vren had not spoken since the squad came in. He watched the hologram with calm, dark eyes. The younger warriors noticed him, but did not stop their jokes. Everyone knew Vren Thalor was different. He was the only coalition soldier to receive the Star of Endless Void 3 times. He had led charges against enemies that made even Krell feel fear. When he spoke, fleets listened. When he was silent, smart people stayed quiet. But tonight the young ones were too full of victory and too drunk on victory wine to care. The hologram changed again. Now it showed men in gray uniforms running across open ground toward machine guns. Explosions threw dirt into the air. Bodies fell in rows. The Psalm, the Vorath cadet explained. Humans sent wave after wave of soldiers into fire. They lost hundreds of thousands in one day, and they still kept going the next day, and the next. Lyra's patterns turned deep red with disbelief. They did not learn. They saw their friends torn apart by metal rain, and they sent more. That is not courage, that is stupidity, or madness. Humans are clever with machines and ships, yes. But as warriors, weak, soft skin, no natural weapons, short lives. They tell themselves these big stories so they do not feel small. Nursery tales for a nursery species. The table roared again. Someone ordered another round of drinks. The hologram kept playing. Samurai in silk armor facing armies with only swords. Roman soldiers holding a single bridge against a whole army. A lone man named Horatius who fought until his friends could destroy the bridge behind him. Every new story brought fresh laughter. Vren Thalor finally moved. He stood up slowly. The table noise dropped a little, but not completely. He walked past them without a word. His heavy boots made deep thuds on the metal floor. As he passed the hologram, he paused for 2 seconds. The light from the projection danced across his scarred face. His eyes stayed on the image of Horatius, standing alone with a broken sword. Then he kept walking. He left the mess hall and disappeared into the dark corridor. Kor watched him go, then turned back to the others with a grin. See? Even the great Vren Thalor knows it's funny. He just doesn't laugh out loud like us. Too serious. Too old. The others agreed. They started another story. This one was about a place called Iwo Jima, where humans raised a flag on a mountain of bodies after weeks of blood and fire. The laughter rolled on. Outside in the corridor, Vren Thalor stopped. He leaned against the cold wall and closed his eyes. The sounds of the mess hall faded behind him. For a long moment, he stood there, breathing slowly. He remembered other corridors, other ships, other wars. He remembered the first time coalition forces met humans in battle. He remembered the screams. He remembered his own squad screaming when they realized the enemy would not break, would not run, would not stop, even when logic said they should. He opened his eyes again. The corridor lights were dim and yellow. Vren Thalor whispered one word to the empty air. Truth. Then he walked away toward the officer quarters, his prosthetic arm clicking softly with each step. The training deck of the Void Fang was a wide open space with high ceilings and thick padded floors. Bright white lights shone from above. The air smelled of sweat, ozone from energy weapons, and the sharp tang of alien blood that never quite washed away. Today was Joint Combat Drill Day. The Coalition liked to mix species during training, so everyone learned how the others fought. The elite squad from the mess hall was there, along with a fresh detachment of 20 human Marines who had come aboard only 2 weeks earlier. The humans wore simple gray combat armor with red shoulder patches. They carried standard-issue pulse rifles and moved in tight, quiet groups. No loud talk, no jokes, just focus. The drill was simple. Capture the enemy flag in a mock city ruin built from cargo crates and hollow projections. 2 teams, mixed species, against the humans. Sergeant Kor Vax led one side with his Krell warriors, the Vorath cadets, and the Tisari. They charged in fast. Krell smashed through barriers with their 4 powerful arms. Vorath climbed walls like spiders and dropped down from above. Tisari used short psychic bursts to confuse enemy aim. It was loud, fast, and brutal. In less than 8 minutes, they had the flag and were laughing again. Then it was the humans' turn to attack. The referee drone started the countdown. The humans did not rush. They spread out in pairs, moved low, used cover. When they fired, it was short, controlled bursts. No wild shooting. They talked in calm voices over comms. Flank left. Suppress center. Move on my mark. Kor watched from the observation platform with the others. He crossed his lower arms and grinned. Look at them. So careful. Like scared children playing soldier. The humans advanced slowly, but steadily. The human on the left took a glancing hit from a training claw, enough to light up his armor red and mark him wounded. He dropped to one knee. His partner did not run. Instead, the partner dragged him behind a crate, slapped a quick seal patch on the wound, and kept firing. Both kept moving forward. Another human took a direct hit to the chest. His vest lit up bright red. Full kill. But before the referee could call him out, he rolled, came up behind a Voreth cadet, and tagged the cadet with his training pistol at point-blank range. Then he lay down like he was supposed to. The Taisari Lyra tilted her head. They cheat the rules even in training. No, one Vorath cadet said, they just refuse to quit until the system forces them. The drill ended. Humans lost, but not by much. They had taken out almost half the alien team before going down. The mixed squad gathered in the locker room afterward. Steam rose from the hot showers. Armor clattered as it was removed. Kor pulled up the helmet camera footage on a wall screen. He froze it on one moment. A human marine, arm hanging limp after a heavy training blow, still firing his rifle one-handed while backing up to cover his squad. Blood, fake training blood, ran down his sleeve, but he did not stop. Look at this, Kor said. His voice was loud and happy. Just like their old stories. One arm useless, body broken, but he keeps going. Exactly like that Captain America nonsense they love so much. The others crowded around. Laughter started again. A Voreth cadet zoomed in. His heart rate was at maximum. Pain sensors in his suit were screaming red. But he did not drop. Humans have good adrenaline. That is all. Nothing magic. Lyra's skin patterns shifted to amused green. Their biology helps them ignore pain for a short time. But it is temporary. Real warriors do not need tricks. We feel pain and push through because we are strong. They pretend the pain is not there. Delusion. Someone else brought up an old human movie clip from the database. A man in blue armor with a shield, running into gunfire, throwing himself on grenades, standing up again and again. The locker room filled with mocking cheers. See, Kor said, they make heroes who cannot die until the story says so. In real life, one good hit and it's over. But humans watch this and think, yes, that could be me. Weak minds need strong lies. The laughter grew. One Tisari projected a side-by-side comparison. The movie hero next to the human marine from today's footage. The poses were almost the same. Body twisted, weapon raised, face set in determination even as damage piled up. Copying fiction in real life, Lyra said. Sad. Kor slapped a claw on the wall. And they call us brutal. At least we know when we are beaten. These apes keep fighting until their bodies fail completely. Then they die and call it glorious. Pointless. The door hissed open. Captain Vren Thalor stepped inside. The laughter dropped a little. Not silent, but quieter. Vren did not look at them right away. He walked to his locker, opened it, and began removing his own armor with slow, careful movements. His prosthetic arm made small metallic clicks. Kor could not resist. Captain, you saw the drill. Did you see how the humans played at being their movie stars? One hit and they should have quit. But no, they crawl, they limp, they keep shooting, just like their fairy tales. Vren paused. He turned his head slightly. His dark eyes met Kor's. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Vren said, very quietly, they did their job. Kor blinked. Sir? They held their sectors. They covered each other. They bought time for the imaginary wounded to be pulled back. That is what soldiers do. Kor laughed again, but it sounded forced. Yes, sir, but the drama, the way they refuse to go down. It's like they think they're in one of those Thermopylae stories. 300 against 1,000,000. One Marine against a whole squad. Laughable. Vren closed his locker. The sound was loud in the sudden quiet. Thermopylae, he repeated. The word came out slow, like he was tasting it. A narrow pass, few defenders, endless attackers. They held until the last man. He looked around the room. Every eye was on him now. The Spartans died, all of them, but the delay let the rest of Greece prepare. The story is not about winning. It is about buying time with bodies. Kor opened his mouth, then closed it. Vren continued. Today those humans bought time. They lost the flag, yes, but they made us pay for every meter. If this was real war, that time would have mattered. He turned to leave. Kor found his voice again. But sir, it's still just stories. Humans love dying in stories. Makes them feel important. Vren stopped at the door. He did not turn around. Some stories, he said, are written after the dying is done, not before. The door slid shut behind him. The locker room stayed quiet for a long time. Then Kor snorted. Old warrior, too serious, always has been. The others laughed again, but it was not as loud as before. Some glanced at the frozen image on the wall, the human marine with the ruined arm, still firing. One Vorath cadet shut off the screen. The laughter faded completely. Outside in the corridor, Vren Thalor walked alone. His steps were steady. His prosthetic clicked. He remembered another narrow pass, not on Earth, on a burning colony world called Epsilon Eridani 4. Human defenders in trenches. Coalition drop pods coming down like rain. He had led the first wave himself. He remembered the humans who stood up when their lines broke, who fired with melted rifles, who threw themselves under tanks to plant charges, who sang as they died. Not stories, memory. Vren kept walking. The lights above him flickered once, then steadied. Somewhere deep in the ship, a laughter started again, but it sounded smaller now. The alarm klaxon screamed through every deck of the Void Fang. Red emergency lights flashed in long, angry pulses. Crew members ran in every direction, some to battle stations, others to escape pods. The voice of the ship AI cut through the noise, calm and cold. Distress beacon received from Colony Outpost Delta 9. Massive unidentified machine swarm detected. All combat-ready units to hangar bays. Priority 1 evacuation protocol active. In the main briefing room, officers from every species crowded around the central holotable. The display showed a small rocky planet with a thin atmosphere. A single human mining colony sat in a wide crater. Around it, thousands of silver shapes moved like a living ocean. They were old precursor war machines, spider-like walkers, hovering drones, rolling tanks with glowing red cores. No one knew who built them, or why they still hunted. They just appeared sometimes, destroyed everything, then vanished. The colony's population was small, 3,000 miners, families, support staff. Most were human. The distress message was short. Swarm arrived without warning. Defenses failing. Request immediate aid. Holding central bunker. Admiral Kethvard, a grizzled Vorath with gold command stripes on his shell, pointed at the display. We can reach them in 4 hours at maximum burn. But the swarm is already inside the outer habs. Casualties will be high. A Krell general rumbled. We send boarding teams to clear landing zones. Heavy infantry first. Krell and Tisserai shock troops. Eyes turned to the human marine commander standing at the back. Major Elena Reyes was short, with dark hair pulled tight, and a long scar running from her left eyebrow to her jaw. She wore standard marine fatigues, sleeves rolled up. Her arms were crossed. She had not spoken yet. Major Reyes, your detachment is the closest trained force, and your people hold a perimeter long enough for transports to land? Reyes stepped forward. Her voice was steady and low. We can hold a line. Give us the ridge above the main canyon. Narrow approach, good fields of fire. We buy you the time you need. The room went quiet for a second. Sergeant Korvax, standing with his squad near the door, laughed once, short and sharp. Hold a line? Against that? He gestured at the hologram, where hundreds of machines crawled over ruined buildings. You will be metal food in minutes. Reyes turned her head slowly toward him. We've held worse lines with less. Kor's mandibles clicked in amusement. Your myths won't save you, human. Achilles had his heel. You have soft skin and short lives. When the first wave hits, you will break. Reyes smiled thinly. It did not reach her eyes. Myths don't fight. People do. Marines deploy in 30 minutes. Drop pods to the canyon ridge. Set defensive positions. Coalition main force follows in heavy landers. Objective: extract survivors and withdraw. The briefing ended. People moved fast. In the Marine ready room, the humans geared up in silence. They checked rifles, loaded extra magazines, strapped on grenades and medkits. No big speeches, no prayers out loud, just quiet work. One young private named Torres looked at Reyes. Ma'am, you really think we can hold? Reyes finished tightening her chest plate. We don't need to hold forever, just long enough. Torres swallowed. And if it's not long enough, then we make it long enough. Outside the ready room, the alien squad watched the humans board their drop pods. Kor leaned against the bulkhead, arms folded. Look at them, he said to Lyra and the Vorath cadets. No fear on their faces. Or maybe they are too stupid to feel it. Lyra's skin patterns shifted to cautious blue. They volunteer for suicide missions. It is strange. A Vorath cadet shook his head. Not strange, delusional. They think they are their old heroes. One last stand, glorious death, waste of good soldiers. Then Captain Vren Thalor appeared in the corridor. He was already in full combat armor, black plates reinforced with ablative layers, his prosthetic arm fitted with a heavy chain blade. He carried a massive rail rifle slung across his back. The younger warriors straightened at once. Kor grinned. Captain, come to watch the softskins play hero? Vren did not answer right away. He watched the last human pod seal and lock. The launch warning sounded. 5 minutes to drop. Then Vren spoke. I am going with them. The corridor went dead silent. Kor blinked. Sir, I said I am going with them. Vren's voice was flat. No room for argument. But orders are for you to stay on the carrier. Command staff. Strategic oversight. Vren turned his scarred face toward Kor. I am reassigning myself. Effective now. Lyra stepped forward. Captain, with respect, this is a delaying action. A forlorn hope. The Marines are expendable. You are not. Vren looked at her for a long moment. No one is expendable. He walked past them toward the Marine drop bay. His boots echoed. Kor called after him. Sir, why risk yourself for them? Vren did not stop. But just before he reached the bay doors, he answered without turning. Because someone has to see it. The doors hissed open. Vren stepped through. They closed behind him. In the alien squad, no one spoke for almost a minute. Then Kor snorted. He's humoring them. One last time. The great Vren Thalor wants to watch the apes die pretty. Let him. The others nodded, but their eyes stayed on the closed doors. Inside the drop bay, the Marines were already strapped in. Reyes looked up as Vren entered. She did not look surprised. Captain Thalor, she said, didn't expect company. Vren took an empty pod seat next to hers. I go where the fight is. Reyes studied him for a second. Then she nodded once. Welcome to the line, sir. The drop pods launched with a thunderous roar. 20 human pods and one extra, carrying the giant Krell captain, fell toward the burning planet like black arrows. On the bridge of the Voidfang, Admiral Varn watched the telemetry. A junior officer asked quietly, Sir, Why did Captain Thalor go down there? Varn stared at the screen. Because he remembers something we have forgotten. He remembers when the myths were still happening. Far below, on the cold ridge above the canyon, the first pod slammed into the ground. Dust rose in huge clouds. Marines poured out, weapons ready. Reyes was first on the ground. She scanned the horizon. The silver swarm was already moving toward them, thousands of red eyes glowing in the dark. She keyed her comm. All units, form up. We hold this ridge. No retreat, no surrender. Just hold. Vren Thalor stepped out last. He towered over the humans. His rail rifle hummed as power cells charged. He looked down at Reyes. Your orders, Major? Reyes met his eyes. Same as always, Captain. We stand. They come. We make them pay for every step. Vren nodded once. Then the machines reached the base of the ridge, and the real fight began. The ridge above the canyon was narrow and rocky. Sharp stones cut into boots. A cold wind blew dust across the defenders. Below, the silver swarm moved like a flood of metal insects. Thousands of rent sensor eyes glowed in the dark. The machines made no sound, except the hum of their engines and the scrape of legs on stone. Major Elena Reyes stood at the center of the line. She held her pulse rifle tight against her shoulder. Around her, 20 human Marines crouched behind rocks and low barricades made from crashed pods. They had dug shallow firing positions in minutes. Grenades were lined up. Ammo crates were open. No one spoke much. They just watched the enemy come. Captain Vren Thalor took position on the right flank. He was too big for cover, so he knelt behind a boulder that barely reached his chest. His rail rifle rested on the rock. The weapon's barrel glowed faintly as it charged. His prosthetic arm gripped the stock steady. You sure about this, Captain? Big target. Vren's voice was calm. I have been bigger targets before. She nodded. Then she keyed her comm. All units, hold fire until they reach the choke point. Make every shot count. The first wave hit the base of the ridge. Spider walkers climbed fast, their legs stabbed into stone like knives. Hover drones buzzed overhead, red beams cutting through the dark. Rolling tanks followed, crushing rocks under wide treads. Reyes raised her hand. Wait! The machines reached the narrowest part of the path, only 20 meters wide. Perfect kill zone. Now! Rifles cracked. Bright plasma bolts lit the night. The first row of spider walkers exploded in showers of sparks and molten metal. Legs flew. Cores cracked open with white fire. The humans did not cheer. They just reloaded and fired again. Vren's rail rifle roared. A thick beam punched through 3 drones at once. Shrapnel rained down. He worked the weapons smooth and fast, each shot perfect. A hover drone slipped past the line and dove toward Reyes. She rolled left. The beam scorched the ground where she stood. She came up firing. 2 shots hit the drone's underbelly. It spun and crashed. More machines climbed. The swarm did not stop. For every one destroyed, 2 more took its place. Private Torres, young and thin, took a hit to the leg. A beam sliced through his thigh armor. He screamed once, then bit down hard. Blood poured. He dragged himself behind a rock, tied a quick tourniquet with one hand, and kept shooting with the other. Reyes saw it. Torres, fall back. Torres shook his head. Not yet, ma'am. Still got rounds. He fired until his rifle clicked empty. Then he pulled a grenade, primed it, and threw it down the slope. It exploded among a group of walkers. Shrapnel tore them apart. Another Marine, Corporal Hale, lost her left arm, at the elbow. A rolling tank's blade caught her. She stared at the stump for 1 second. Then she switched her rifle to her right hand, braced it against her hip, and kept firing single shots. Her face was white with pain, but her aim stayed steady. Vren watched. He said nothing, but his shots came faster. The line started to shrink. Marines fell one by one. Some died quiet. Some screamed defiance as they went down. One man, bleeding from the chest, crawled forward to plant a demo charge under a tank. He triggered it with his last breath. The explosion lit the ridge like daylight and took out a dozen machines. Reyes took a hit next. A plasma bolt struck her side. Armor melted, flesh burned. She staggered but did not fall. She leaned against a rock, one hand pressed to the wound. Blood ran between her fingers. With the other hand, she kept shooting. "Keep the center," she shouted. Her voice cracked with pain. "Do not let them through." He stood tall, drawing fire. Beams hit his armor. Black plates scorched. One shot punched through his shoulder guard. He grunted once, but did not slow. A massive war engine climbed the ridge. A 10-meter monster with 6 legs and a glowing main cannon. It aimed at the center of the line. Reyes saw it. She pulled her last grenade. "Cover me." She ran forward, limping, bleeding, one arm useless. She threw the grenade high. It landed on the engine's back and stuck. The blast cracked its armor. The cannon misfired. Energy washed over the ridge, but missed most of the defenders. The engine stumbled. Vren finished it with a rail shot through the core. It collapsed in a heap of fire and smoke. Reyes dropped to one knee. She breathed hard. Blood dripped onto the dirt. Vren knelt beside her. "Major." She looked up. "Still here, Captain." He nodded. The swarm kept coming, but slower now. The ridge was covered in broken machines. Smoke rose thick. The air smelled of burned circuits and blood. A Voroth observer drone hovered high above, sending live feed to the Void Fang. On the bridge, the alien squad watched in silence. Kor stared at the screen. His mandibles hung open. They are still fighting. Lyra's patterns flickered gray with shock. The human major, half her body ruined, she stands. The Voroth cadet whispered, "Like the stories." No one laughed. Back on the ridge, the last Marines formed a tight circle around Reyes. Only 7 left standing. They fired until rifles overheated. Then they switched to pistols. Then knives. Vren stood in front. His armor was cracked in 10 places. One eye lens was dark. His prosthetic arms sparked. But he kept shooting. A new wave came. Faster, bigger. The machine sensed the line was breaking. Reyes stood up. She swayed. "One more push," she said. "For the colony." She raised her pistol. Then the sky lit up. Coalition landers screamed down through the atmosphere. Heavy guns opened fire. Plasma rained on the swarm. The ground shook. The machines turned. Some tried to climb back down. Others kept coming. The humans did not move. They held the ridge. Reinforcements landed. Krell shock troops poured out. Vorat snipers took high positions. Tisari psychics stunned whole groups of machines. The swarm broke. In minutes the ridge was secure. Survivors from the colony were loaded onto transports. The fight was over. Reyes collapsed. Medics rushed to her. They cut away burned armor. Stabilized her. She was alive. Barely. Vren stood over her for a moment. Then he walked to the edge of the ridge. He looked down at the canyon floor, covered in dead machines. He spoke quietly, to no one. Again, a Marine sergeant approached him. "Thank you." Vren shook his head. "Do not thank me. Thank them." He pointed to the wounded humans being carried away. The sergeant followed his gaze. Torres, Hale, the others, still breathing. Vren turned away. His armor hissed with escaping pressure. His steps were slow. High above, the Void Fang watched. The laughter was gone. The med bay of the Void Fang was quiet after the battle. Soft blue lights glowed over rows of pods. Machines beeped slowly. The smell of antiseptic mixed with the faint iron scent of blood. Wounded from the ridge lay in rows. Humans mostly, some coalition troops who had landed late. Medics moved between them with calm hands. Major Elena Reyes was in one of the critical pods. Tubes ran into her arms and chest. Her burned side was covered in white regen gel that bubbled softly as it worked. Her face was pale, but her eyes were open. She stared at the ceiling. A thin smile touched her lips when she saw the others come in. The alien squad from the mess hall stood at the door. Sergeant Kor Vax, Lyra the Tisari, the Vorath cadets. They had come straight from decontamination. Their armor was still scratched and scorched. No one spoke at first. They just looked at the humans in the beds. Private Torres lay nearby. His leg was in a stiff brace. He gave a weak thumbs up when he saw them. Corporal Hale was next to him. Her missing arm ended in a clean medical cap. She was already reading battle reports on a small screen with her good hand. Kor stepped forward. His big frame made the room feel smaller. He stopped at Reyes's pod. "Major," he said. His voice was rough. "You lived." Reyes turned her head slowly. "Told you. We've held worse." Kor looked down. His mandibles moved, but no sound came out at first. Then he said, "We watched the feed, all of it. You should have fallen, many times." Reyes shrugged with her good shoulder. "Should have, didn't." The others came closer. Lyra's skin patterns were dull gray. No bright colors, no amusement. The Vorath cadets stood silent, compound eyes fixed on the wounded. Kor spoke again. "Why?" Reyes looked at him for a long moment. "Why what? Why keep standing? Your body was broken. Pain should have stopped you. Logic should have stopped you. But you did not stop." Reyes closed her eyes for a second. When she opened them, her voice was soft. "Because someone had to. The colony was behind us. Families, kids. If we ran, they died. So we stayed." Kor's claws clicked together. Not an answer. Not a real one. From the far end of the bay, a deep voice answered. "It is the only answer that matters." Captain Vren Thalor walked in. His armor was gone. He wore only a simple black undersuit. Scars covered his chitin, old ones and new burns from the ridge. His prosthetic arm was wrapped in fresh bandages. One side of his face was swollen, but he walked straight. He stopped beside Rhea's pod. She looked up at him. "Captain, you look worse than me." Vren gave a small rumble that might have been a laugh. "I heal slower." He turned to the squad. His dark eyes moved over each face. Kor, Lyra, the cadets, they waited. "Captain, why did you go down there? Why stand with them?" Vren did not answer right away. He reached up and touched a small panel on the wall. A holo-projector hummed to life. It showed the same old images from the mess hall nights ago. Achilles, the Spartans, Horatius on the bridge, the soldiers at the Somme, Iwo Jima, the berserkers, the samurai. The squad stared. No one laughed this time. Vren spoke quietly. "I was young when the contact wars began. My first command. We met humans then. They were new, small, soft. We thought they would break easy." He paused. His prosthetic clicked once. We were wrong. The holo changed. Now it showed real footage, old, grainy recordings from Coalition archives. Burning cities on human worlds, dropships landing, Krell warriors charging trenches. In the images, humans fought back. Men and women in torn uniforms fired from ruined buildings. A soldier with no legs dragged himself forward with a rocket launcher. Another held a bridge alone until it collapsed under him. A woman with half her face gone kept shooting until her ammo ran dry. Vren pointed. New Shanghai. Third day. We glassed the outer districts. Thought resistance was over. Then we found them in the tunnels. Broken, bleeding, starving. They still fought. House by house, room by room. He looked at Kor. I led the final push myself. I cut down their last defenders. One man stood in a doorway. No weapon left. just his body. He charged me with bare hands. I killed him, but he slowed me, long enough for others to escape with wounded. The hollow froze on that man's face, eyes wide, teeth bared, blood everywhere. Vren continued. I saw it again and again, on a dozen worlds. They did not fight because they wanted glory. They fought because running meant everyone behind them died. So they stood, with broken bones, with missing limbs, with lungs full of smoke. They stood until they could not stand anymore. He turned off the projector. The room went dark for a second. Then the blue med lights came back. That is why their stories are not fairy tales, Vren said. They are memory. Every human culture has these tales because their people did these things, over and over, for thousands of years. When the odds were impossible, when death was certain, they still stood. He looked at the wounded Marines. Torres, Hale, Reyes. Tonight you saw it happen again. Not in bronze statues, not in old videos, in front of your eyes. Major Reyes threw herself at a war engine with one working arm. Private Torres crawled on one leg to throw a grenade. Corporal Hale fired with no left arm. They did not do it for songs or statues. They did it so the people below could live. Kor stared at the floor. His claws opened and closed. We laughed at them, he said. We called them weak. We were wrong. Lyra spoke next. Her voice was very soft. We thought pain always wins. Fear always wins. Biology always wins. Vren looked at her. For most species, yes. For humans, sometimes it does not. The squad stood in silence. Reyes spoke from her pod. Her voice was weak but clear. It's not magic. It hurts a lot. We're scared. We want to run. But we remember the ones who didn't run. So we don't either. She looked at Vren. Thank you for standing with us, Captain. Vren shook his head. Thank you for showing me I was right to remember. He turned to leave. At the door he stopped. He looked back at the squad. Do not laugh at their stories again, he said, because when you do, you laugh at the truth. He walked out. The med bay stayed quiet. Kor looked at Reyes. Major, I was wrong. Reyes gave a small nod. We all learn. Outside in the corridor, Vren Thaler walked alone. Pain moved through his body with every breath, but his head was high. Behind him, in the bay, Torres whispered to Hale. Think they'll laugh again? Hale smiled through the pain. Not the same way. In the mess hall later that night, the hollow projector stayed off. No one turned it on. The table was empty. For the first time, the squad ate in silence. And somewhere deep in the ship, the old stories waited. Quiet now, but no longer mocked.